having a dark night of the soul? What is going on over there? 5 signs you are having a dark night of the soul. Dun, dun, dun. How many times am I going to do that in this video? I don't know. Stay tuned to find out. Hopefully not a lot, right? Hopefully not any more times. Okay, number one sign that you're having a dark night of the soul is that the old way is just not working anymore. The old way of doing things. So really, number one should be the fact that you have this awareness. You're like, what the hell is going on? Because the old way was probably not looking up a video on Dark Night of the Soul. What is happening in my life? Because this is how you type on your phone. You have a giant phone. So that's the first sign, is that the old way is just not working. Old default systems, old ways to keep you protected. Like that's just is just like so 2020, so not happening anymore, right? Like my old way of being is people pleasing. In past videos, if you've been watching, I have a history of people pleasing, which is a terrible expression because you don't please anybody. And it's gross and it's codependent and it's needy and blah, 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 blah. So that is like the old me. You must be talking about the old me. Because that way of doing things is just not working anymore. So now I'm way more authentic and speaking the truth about how I feel about things. And I just can't do that old way anymore of pretending like things are working when they're not. So where in your life are you just not willing to do the old way? The old system is like outdated. System upgrade. Number 2, you might feel really motivated one minute. You're like, yes, I'm gonna write the book. I've got the screenplay. I'm gonna, change the world. My business is gonna be number 1 or whatever it is. And then the next minute you're like, or I could just not do anything. Or I could just sort of relax and then beat myself up over relaxing. It's this pendulum swing of super motivated, super exhausted. So if you've been feeling that, where you're like, I'm really excited and motivated, and then suddenly I feel like I have the wind knocked out of me and I have zero motivation and I don't know why who that person was that was making all those plans before. Because now I'm tired. I'm tired. Number 3, three. I'm double jointed too, so that's always fun, huh? You're like, where is she pointing? So number 3 is you have zero tolerance for surface level talk. That's another thing, like with the people pleasing thing. It's like my heart could be broken and somebody's like, how you doing, Lea? I'm like, I'm fine. Totally good. I'm really good. Right? It's lying. But I think that I'm taking care of everybody else because I'm like, I don't want to burden them. And there is a thing about not dumping all your stuff on people. But now it's like, I only have around me soul family, people who get it. Either that or I'm working and I'm coaching, and so I'm holding a space to get it for somebody else. So there's no shame. There's no anything in like talking about what's going on with us. So when I talk about, the friends that I have, I'm like so hesitant to say friends because in other videos I've said I have 0 friends. I don't call them friends really. It's soul family because they're beyond the friendships that I've had, because in my experience, the friendships have been very confining and restricting. This soul family is much more conducive to where I am right now with like being able to navigate things and talk about things on a very deep level. A lot of times the friendships, superficial, I guess, friendships that I've had in the past that I thought were very close connected friendships we really couldn't connect on that level. And so what I would do is try to make them comfortable by not talking about deep spiritual things or the meaning of the planet or why I'm here on this planet and stuff, because they're like, I don't want to talk about that stuff, Lea. So to make them feel comfortable, I just didn't. Until now, my soul is like, I just can't anymore. I did it always in my business, but then in my personal relationships, I still did that people-pleasing thing for a long time where I'm like, oh, that makes you uncomfortable or it's weird or whatever, so I wouldn't. Now I do, and so I can't go backwards. So maybe you're noticing that. Like there's no superficial, like I'm fine. Instead, you're like, I'm having a dark night of the soul. So mysterious. So it is that, like much deeper conversations happening. Number 4, because you're having this much deeper opening to the universe and why you're here on the planet and all these really big, deep things, inside of that, your friendships and relationships are going to shift. They're going to relation shift. Did you see what I did there? They're going to relation shift. Oh my gosh, I'm so impressed with myself. I love it when I come up with weird stuff like that. Okay, so yes, they will. They're going to move around because the people who wanted those surface talks, if now all you want are deep, connected, like, you know, enlightened talks, then that's not going to mesh that old behavior. Boom. See what I did? I just circled it around. See, this stuff, I'm just getting it as I go. So I always have a clear intention with what I want to give on these videos, but then messages are like coming through me in real time. So sometimes I'll do the video over, and sometimes I go with it because that's exactly the message. I'm not above this stuff. It's like they're downloads from the universe and I'm just the messenger. So I'm going through this as well. So major shifts in personal relationships, business relationships, romantic relationships. And that's not a bad thing. You know, also it can be a deepening. Sometimes marriages, relationships, things like that can get much closer, or they can fall away. But there's really no in between. Meaning, there's no, I mean, yesterday I did a video about in between. There's a beautiful in between space, but there's no in between in the sense of like, you know, I'm just going to stay in a wishy-washy, surface, kind of superficial thing. That's not going to work for you if you're open to this dark night of the soul period. That's what I mean about that in between. You're going to either be all in, like I'm going to just feel my feelings and connect and have it be a mess, or not. But it's not going to be like, I'm just going to be surfacey and, you know, on the sidelines forever. That's not going to be your temperament in this time of dark night of the soul. Okay, moving right along. Number 5, drum roll please. Number 5 is you are highly sensitive. You might have always been sensitive to this, but you're highly sensitive now to energy. Like you feel it massively. People are just running around shooting all over you, telling you what you should and shouldn't do all the time. That's not holding space for you. So you might feel like I don't have tolerance for that. You might notice that energy a lot. You notice the energy when you have a creative idea and you share it with somebody who squashes it. You'll notice that. Or you become so highly sensitive to it now that you don't even have the conversation. Sometimes when you're going through this time period, I know I felt like just wanting to be quiet. Because you're like, what's there even to say? And not from like this depressed, heavy place, but it's like, I understand. Even when I disagree with somebody, I get it. When you step into a bigger, broader understanding of the world and energy at large, you're like, oh, our energies are just not meshing. It's going to happen on both sides. It's okay. and you release any attachment to that, because you're in alignment with, I'm only going to go for deep connections. So if that connection isn't organically happening there, then it's okay for me and everyone involved to release attachment to it. So that's the fifth thing that you might notice, is that energy is like really prevalent, and also really good energy. Like I was saying, like when I teach, I get really speedy, I get very excited, or certain people that I'm around, it's like I almost feel like it's like a drug, because you're just like, oh my gosh, I feel this adrenaline, or you might like get sweaty, or your heart is beating. And sometimes that's your nervous system saying, you know, this is not good. But that's where you get in alignment with your own energy, so that you can tell in your body, this is actually an excited, alive energy, versus this is like alarm bells saying this is dangerous or not healthy, right? And really understanding that and being so sensitive to it that you don't have to make up any stories about stuff or justify things anymore. It's not almost like that animal instinct, like a dog, right? Like I've had lots of dogs in my life. I don't have one right now. My daughter really wants to get one. But anyway, I digress. I've had a lot of dogs in my life. And, you know, it's so interesting how some dogs, like I had this one German Shepherd who just did not like this one guy who would come over. And he was a nice guy. And she just did not like him, which made me wonder. It was like, interesting. So, you know, they're picking up on energy. And maybe that guy was fearful of dogs, so she was picking up on that. Who knows? But they pick up on energy. Dog isn't going on a story. So you pick up on an energy like, oh, I don't like that vibe of that person. And everyone says, but they're a good person and you should, and blah, should. And you're like, but I just don't feel it. Trust that energy. Or vice versa. When you feel a good energy with somebody, trust that energy. Sometimes we're repelled by that because we're scared of it, because we know it's going to grow us. So just really sensitive to energy. That's the fifth way. Now that you have all the 5 signs that you might be experiencing a dark night of the soul, what are you going to do with it, right? What are you going to do with it? What are you going to do knowing that this old way isn't working because your ego is dying off? As Eckhart Tolle says, it's like you become this aware of the ego. And when you become aware that somebody is aware of the awareness, who is thinking the thoughts and who is aware of the thoughts, and when you begin to have that consciousness, you expand. So you can have this dark night of the soul, and all those old ways of being fall away. Your ego starts to diminish. This small way of thinking, like this is me and I have to be like this, and you know, this is right and this is wrong. You start seeing that bigger eagle's eye view of everything. That's where you can detach from things. Doesn't mean you don't care, but you pull away. You care so much that you don't get all tangled up. So what do we do with all this once we know? So that we can go into the light day of the soul, so that it's not all this like heavy stuff all the time, right? So the light day, sorry, I'm seeing like all eagles flying around outside the window right now. I wish I never can capture that, it seems like, but as I'm shooting these, I see eagles and hawks. One day when I'm shooting outside, we're gonna capture one. But I always think of that as like a beautiful sign when I'm doing these and I see all my friends' visits outside. Anyway, that's why I was a little distracted. Okay, so what do we do with it? The first thing is to get in your body. Like really, for realsy. I've been noticing, I've been going through so much stuff. Like with relationships, and I told you in previous videos that my dad is getting older and his wife, and they're in Florida and trying to figure out, you know, how to help them. And then friendships moving around, people I'm dating, like that connection shifting and diminishing and falling away, and new people coming in. You know, it's all these different things. Fluxes in my business. So I've been feeling this like dark night of the soul. But it's an exciting time because now that I know what it is, And this is a misconception that it just happens once and it's like a day or 10 minutes or something and it's over. No, is there one dark night in your life? We have dark nights every day. So the big misconception I wanna dispel, is that a word? is that there's this one dark night of the soul and then you have an epiphany and you're enlightened and then the rest is like all light. No, you're gonna have dark nights of the soul many times, just like we have dark nights every night. It's just how we deal with it, the more that we have a broader consciousness. So the first time you go through it, it might be like, oh my God, and it feels like a depression. The next time it might feel like, oh my God, I'm so excited because I know something's gonna be birthed through this experience. The next time might be so fast that it is like a 10 minutes. You're like, whoa, I just went into my ego and now I'm back. So how do we get into the light day of the soul? What do we do with this energy? So the first thing is to get in your body. So when I've been going through all this, I noticed the first thing, I went into an old default and I got out of my really good habit of yoga. I love yoga and I got out of it. I mean, you know, there's been many times in my life where I've practiced every day. In 2020, I practiced every single day of that entire year. And I felt so good. Amazing, in fact. And the mind will say, well, just keep working. Just keep sitting at the computer. Just keep doing this. You got to get this done. You got to get that done. And more head stuff, more figuring out. But that's not what you need. Get in your body. So lately, I have been. And it's been feeling so good. So I encourage you to do it. And there's going to be another step on here. So stay tuned. That's going to be tied in with this one. So to get in your body, do yoga. Go for a walk. Give yourself a little massage. Anything. Just something to get into the body. Take a deeper breath. Notice if your breath is shallow, it's coming right into your chest or even into like your just throat, the face. Sometimes people don't even bring their breath all the way into the body. Number 2, to get your thoughts out. So it might seem like, you know, silly to actually write, but write. And they've done studies when you actually use a pen and paper, because people aren't anymore, that there's something about from, you know, heart to hand to paper. And then you're getting it out of your head. So you might think like, I already know it all. What's the point of writing it down? But it gives it someplace to tangibly go. So I really encourage you to just write, to journal, to let it just be the stream of consciousness and to just get it out. Number 3, of course, I'm going to advocate meditation. Meditate. Find a guided meditation you like. I have a ton on this channel, or just one with music, or just sit in silence. There's a million ways you can do it, but to just be with your breath in stillness does so much. Again, the mind will convince you that it's not important, but once you do it, insights will come, ideas will come, revelations will come. So I really encourage you to do that. Number 4 is to get in nature. Get outside. It really helps. Put your feet on the ground. I did a video about that, you know, putting your feet on the ground, how they've done studies that there's a vibration in the earth. And they've noticed neurologically that it's the same vibration as somebody in the most calm state. Like somebody at like the level of like a Buddhist monk or something. That's the vibration of the earth. So when you put your feet on the earth, it really does, they said for even 10 seconds, it's like a mood boost, like a St. John's wort. It's like a holistic, that's a vitamin, right? A nature herb, if you don't know what that is. A natural remedy for depression, anxiety. So get in nature, even if it's just something little or big. You know, go on a big hike, but if you can't do that, just put your feet in the grass. I meant something for the next 90 days. For the next 90 days, I'm doing yoga because I love it and I know it supports me. So I invite you to pick something for the next 90 days that either you've been doing, or it would be even better if it's something that you haven't been doing, something that you can implement. The most important thing is to schedule some time for fun. Just have fun and play. Try something new in that area. My daughter and I've been wanting to go stand-up paddleboarding for the longest time, like ever since I lived in Marina del Rey, California, and I saw them doing it out there. And then in Colorado, it's huge. And I've never done it. And we went last weekend and it was so fun. And now I'm addicted. I want to buy one. Because we had a blast. And we were just out on the water and we were in the moment, just pure play. Riding horses is like that for me too. So anything that's just like pure play for you, do that. Help you and you find value in this. Please let me know other talks that you'd like. Make a comment below about how this stuff is working for you. And if you haven't yet, please do subscribe and pass this along, and let's share the good news. That it's okay if you're going through a dark night of the soul, that it's all good, that we're in this together, that we can create something awesome out of it. You got this. I'll see you next time, okay? All right, and click on the video. Check it out. Yes? Check it out. Right there. Okay, bye.